Welcome to the Cayman's Island podcast, where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, David Cayman. And in today's show, I want to cover a lot with regard to predictions for the 49ers versus the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field this Sunday. It's going to be a 1:05 Pacific start, 4:05 Eastern start for the 49ers. As you can see, I'm wearing my Georgia swag today because my Bulldogs played a high school team, but I'm going to take the win anyway. It's good to start off the season with a win, and we're going to be playing another high school team this weekend. So really nothing to look forward to from the college standpoint. The season really doesn't get started until some SEC competition gets in here. But with regard to the Niners in this game, if I had to go ahead and give you a total score prediction right now, I would give it 24-21 good guys. The San Francisco 49ers pulling that out. Statistically speaking, there's a lot to unpack here. Statistically, Brock has done extremely well against Seattle in Seattle. In fact, he's actually a 3-0 undefeated record when playing against the Seahawks in that very hard to play in noise stadium. So I really think that theme is going to continue across the board, with Brock continuing to, for whatever reason, play very comfortable in those noisy conditions. He doesn't seem to be rattled. In fact, he's always played very well against Seattle. I know that Geno ate us up at the end on that last drive, and that's what beat us in that game. Now, Brock wasn't stellar in the game that we lost to Seattle, that second game against Seattle last season, but he hasn't played poorly against the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm seeing that theme carry over into this 2025 season. I have Brock with over 250 passing yards. I'm going to say 2 touchdowns. Hate to do him like this, but I do think he throws at least one pick in this particular contest. My CMC, my hope and my thought process is, especially with bringing in Brian Robinson, that they are going to do as best they can to cut back on Christian McCaffrey's carries. I got Christian McCaffrey getting a total of 16 touches. I got him with over 115 total yards. Got my man George Kittle here getting 6 catches, 80 yards. I've got Ricky Pearsall, 5 catches, 85 yards. Fred Warner, I really feel, is going to, on the defensive side of the ball, set the tone. I know that typically the quarterback is pretty much the face of the franchise, and I know Brock does very well in speaking to the media, the honesty in which he speaks, just all in all a great guy. But I really feel like Fred, man, is the overall still leader of this football team across the board. I really see Fred having a big game. I got him having 8 tackles, a pass breakup, probably a couple of quarterback pressures. I think the season is really going to start with Fred setting that tone for the whole team on the defensive side of the ball. And as far as a couple of hot take predictions I wanted to mention here, and I know this is probably, with what's been going on in camp, what's been going on in practice even before this season, you would think this is probably the most insane take of them all. But I really feel like coming out of this game, we're not going to have any major injuries. I really do. My hope is that we can get guys in here that are not even expected to get in here. I'd love to see Jordan Watkins be able to get back in here. I'd love to be able to see Dominic Pooney be able to start as well. But I really feel like we're going to come out of this game without any key players receiving or suffering any major injuries. Now, I don't have any stats to back that up. This is just a feeling. With as bad as things have been in camp and this entire offseason with injuries, I feel like the Niners are really due a break. I really do. And I feel we come out of this particular contest unscathed by any major type of injuries. I don't think Brock's going to get hurt, even though the offensive line protection is a question mark for sure. I just feel like with Brock with his legs, I don't think he's going to come out here pressing like he did last year. There was an interview done recently where Brock even admitted to the fact that he was out there pressing. And for me, just the eye test alone, I could see some of that. I could see where later in the season, especially when the pressure got high, where you just, in those gotta have it moments, Brock tried to do really a bit too much. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Brock is always talking about getting better and really working on his craft. And I feel like he's going to get back to the old way of doing things. And that's just taking what's there, taking what the defense is giving him and hitting the open man. I really think without Debo being there, without Brandon Knight being there, it's really going to cause Kyle to go back to doing what he is good at doing. And that's scheming guys open, getting some of these receivers that we have out here in the mix. A lot of 21 personnel making matchup nightmares with CMC coming out of the backfield, being able to catch the ball. I really feel like George is going to be featured in this offense more so than he ever has. And that is great, and that's super encouraging for me because I think about a world where the Niners feature him more over the last few years than they even have. I think George is going to be a Hall of Famer. I just think that he would shatter every record if we really featured him more. And I think that's coming. I think this statistic is going to be George's best year overall. Another hot take prediction, and I've felt this for a while just with Robert Saleh being back in the building. I know that Seattle is going to run a run-heavy offense. And I really feel like at all costs, unfortunately, the Niners are going to make it a priority to stop the run. I see the Niners holding Seattle under 100 yards rushing. Now, that's paramount considering how bad that run defense was this time a year ago. But I really feel like that's going to be a point of emphasis. That's going to be a point of focus, which I think are going to leave that secondary a little bit vulnerable. If I had to say where my concern is going to be, it's going to be in that secondary because I think the 49ers are not necessarily sell out per se, but they're going to make it a point of emphasis to, if nothing else, slow the Seattle run game, slow it down for sure. I could see Jackson Smith and Jigba having quite a strong game. I know we got Demo, and Demo does Demo things for sure. I just feel like with the amount of newness that's back there in that secondary, if there's a lack of concentration, that can lead to some big plays. A lot of people forget that Cooper Kupp's on the team for Seattle as well. Now, this isn't Super Bowl MVP Cooper Kupp that's walking into this stadium, but man, to have him, that type of experience as a number 2 guy, being fully healthy, I think that's going to be a big deal. Sam Darnold, to me, is not at all a scrub. However, I do think because of the fact that he's a statue back there, and for whatever reason, Nicholas Bosa absolutely loves to feast on Seattle pressure-wise. I'm hoping with the addition of Huff, I'm hoping with the addition of Mykel Williams, maybe Yetur Gross-Matos can get out here and help from the other side, get some look of a pass rush on that other side. And Nick can actually get home a lot more than just getting pressures. I know that typically in the beginning of games, defenses can struggle. I think it's going to be a point of emphasis. I could see this game, like I said, being low scoring. I think 24-21 Niners is what I have it as. I definitely don't see either of these teams getting into the 30-point range whatsoever unless there's just a lot of turnovers, some pick sixes, scoop and score, something like that. But Sam Darnold, man, if you start putting pressure on him and you start getting into his face, he starts to collapse. And we saw that a few times last year, even though he had an incredible year, and I respect his game. I just know that if you can get into his face, he starts to crumble a bit. So I look for Robert Saleh to have that in the mix, a part of the scheme, a part of the package to disguise some blitzes, not just sitting there in some soft zone coverage like we got caught in multiple times last year, and folks just converting ridiculously long third downs on us. If they're going to complete some third downs, it's probably going to be with pressure in Sam Darnold's face. Definitely looking forward to what the Niners are going to do there. Now, this is the NFL, and anything's possible and anything can happen. I would say this. If this prediction is completely false and the Niners end up losing this game, I could see it being just by a field goal. And I feel as though if we did lose by that field goal, it would be one of these, okay, it's a 50-yard field goal attempt for the Niners to tie the game and send it into overtime, and then you're sending out Jake Moody. I could see that being the downfall for us if circumstances don't go how I think they're going to go and we are losing this game. I think it's going to be off of a Jake Moody missed field goal attempt. Now, I want to give a silver lining in that prediction that in the event things don't go as planned and the Niners do end up losing this game and it is by a field goal, which I could see that if we did lose the game being by a field goal, and Jake did miss that kick. The silver lining to that scenario is I think at that point that would be Jake's swan song and we get that man up out of the building and we can get somebody else in that can be a more consistent field goal kicker. Because for me, Faithful, I personally would rather have this pain out of the way, this week one game blown because of a field goal kick, and you go ahead and get him out there and we have 16 games to recover. That would be the silver lining. Having said that, this would be a game where Jake makes all 5 of his field goal attempts and everything's looking good and great. And then a big game for playoff seeding or contention happens later in the year against like Houston or something, and we line up to win the game winner and he boots the ball like to the opposite goalpost or something like that. And we end up going from a 4th seed to some random wild card and end up playing like the Eagles in round 1 or something like that in the playoffs. That's unfortunately the way it seems that things have gone for the Niners over the last few seasons. Anything that can go wrong almost will go wrong. With that being said, I do see the 49ers pulling this one out. Again, I have them 24-21 good guys. Tell me what you think in the comments. What are your bold predictions for this game? What are your thoughts? As always, if you like what you saw today, please remember to like and subscribe. As always, take care and be blessed.